What's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video day, and today we're going to be talking about what the Houston Texans should do today in day 2 of the NFL draft. As the Houston Texans do not have any draft selections in the second round, as they did have one, which was the 33rd overall pick, and they did trade that in the Arizona trade. That landed them Will Anderson Jr., which was definitely worth it. But the Houston Texans are going to be making 2 selections tonight if they stay where they're at. Maybe I do think there's a chance the Texans might potentially trade up with pick 65 if someone like Jalen Hyatt or Clark Phillips falls a little close to them. I recently looked at the round 2 mock draft just a couple of minutes, maybe 30 minutes ago, and right now Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver from Tennessee, he's a guy who they have him going in the 60s. And, they have him potentially, sliding down all the way to 69, which is crazy for a guy who's, potentially to maybe be a first-round pick, but then most likely be, mid-second round pick, most likely. And now he's all the way in their mock draft, Bleacher Report's mock draft, they had him at 69, which I doubt that happens. I could see him falling to maybe somewhere like 65, 63 in that area. I think if not only Clark Phillips or Jalen Hyatt are down there in the early 60s, maybe late 50s, I could see the Houston Texans potentially trading up for one of those guys. They definitely will want to add in a wide receiver at some point in this draft, whether it's tonight or whether it's tomorrow. From rounds 4 to 7, and then whether it's today or whether it's tomorrow, they will definitely draft a cornerback. So today, here's what I do. If Jalen Hyatt's not available at 65 when when you're on the clock, or if you trade down, if he's picked really earlier than you thought. I either trade down or maybe Clark Phillips the third falls to you. So if Clark Phillips is available at 65, or you might have to trade up a couple picks for him, I think that would be an excellent pick for the Texans. I think he's a really nice corner. The Texans need some extra corner help next to Derek Stingley Jr. And even if Clark Phillips the third doesn't start and King starts, there is always a chance Stingley could get hurt again, which I know all Texans fans don't want that to happen, but he's a guy who's had a lot of injury problems in the NFL. So you always got to consider the possibility. Then at 73, Texans pick 8 picks later. If I'm the Texans here, I think Luke Weipler, center from Ohio State. C.J. Stroud, center. I think he should be available then. That's what I go with at 73. The Texans need a starting center really bad. Why not get the starting center that played with your new franchise quarterback in C.J. Stroud, make him a little comfortable, and get one of the best guys available at that position in this year's draft. So I really like that potential move at 73 for the Houston Texans. So at 65, I think it's really split decision between. It's just 65. It depends on who falls to 65. Is Jalen Hyatt available at 65? Is Clark Phillips the third available at 65? Do you have to trade up for one of those guys possibly? I think if you do sit at 65 and don't trade up, I think that it will be one of those guys. If both guys are available, it's going to be one of those guys. I do see Hyatt potentially going before that, and then Phillips maybe being there at 65. So if Phillips is the only player available between the two of him and Hyatt, I think that's what the Texans will go with at 65. But if Hyatt's available, I think the Texans have a hard decision to make, and then maybe the Texans would draft a corner in tomorrow and in the 4th round, as they have 2 selections in the 4th round tomorrow. Tomorrow they draft at 104 and then draft the next pick at 105. So you get to see the Texans draft 2 times in a row. But usually when someone has 2 draft picks in a row, usually they either trade down or trade up. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans just either trade down or trade up with 104 and 105. Maybe trade up from 104 to a better pick, or trade down from 105 to a worse pick and maybe get an extra pick with it. So maybe you trade down from 104 to maybe, let's say, I don't know who's at 117, but let's say you trade 104 for 117 and get a 7th round pick in this year's draft. Just saying. I'm just saying that's what you could possibly get for, jumping down 13 spots. Or at most, man, I don't know if you could get a 7th round pick this year. Maybe you get a 7th round pick next year, which could be decent. But, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be interesting night 2 for these Texans. They only have 2 draft picks to make out of, the 60, 65 guys that will hear their name called tonight. But I think these selections tonight for the Texans in the 3rd round are very important selections, because if it's either wide receiver or it's center or it's cornerback, I think those are all 3 positions that the Texans need to add. Wide receiver, you already have 4 really good wide receivers on the team. Center, you need a center, and corner, you need bad. So those are 3 positions you really need to upgrade. Center and corner is a little more important than wide receiver, but at the same time, wide receiver is also really important. So I think at 65 and 73, the Texans will address 2 of those 3 problems right there. I think most likely at 73 will be Luke Weipler, and I think at 65 will be a decision between a cornerback and a wide receiver. So we'll see what happens, and that's the video. Hope you guys enjoy them, your thoughts, and peace out. Go Texans.